Smaran Deshpande, what did you do last summer?
Last summer I went on a vacation, you could say, but it was more of a service trip with an organization called CORD.
So, Chinmaya Organization for Rural Development. Where'd you go? What'd you do in a nutshell?
We went to an area around Coimbatore, India called I don't remember the name of this town specifically, but it was called CORD Siruvani, the center that we went to. We went there to help out the citizens, like in whatever way possible, whether it be physical labor or just helping them like learn about how things can be done quicker and more efficiently, or like the differences between life in the U.S. versus life where they were.
So, what'd you end up doing as your main service there?
For our main service, the thing I remember doing the most was digging pits, basically. So like the citizens there, they don't have like proper rainwater collection things. So what they do, they dig big pits, and then they put tarps in those pits, and then it'll collect water in there, so they can uh and so they can like collect that water and water their plants easier. And then we also made these things called azola pits. So it was a 3 foot by 6 foot pit that was 4 feet deep. We would put a tarp in there, put water in, and then it would start growing this algae called azola,
Yeah.
and then you would use that algae to feed plants. I mean, not plants, animals like cows and pigs,
Well,
stuff like that.
self sufficiency,
Yeah,
building
self
that up.
sufficiency.
So, how'd you sign up for this? How'd you hear about this? What's the whole process?
My dad actually told me about this. He received an email like a couple months before, like in March, about a service opportunity. And at first, I didn't want to go because, like, who wanted to spend 2 weeks of their summer doing a service project? But I'm honestly really glad that I did go because not only it's going to look amazing on college applications, first off, but it was also a really eye opening experience.
So, then once you got there, what was your initial feeling? Like, you get down from the airport, what's going on?
Well, the first thing we did when we got down from the plane was we met outside with all the other students that were going to be there with me.
How many were
First,
there?
20 some. It was originally supposed to be 20, but I think two people pulled out because they got sick.
Uh huh.
So it ended up being 15 boys and 3 girls.
All from America?
Yes, all
Okay.
American.
Wow. So, okay, you get down from the airport, then you meet with them, then what do you do?
Um, well, we got on a bus, and
Mm-hmm.
before we did anything else, we went to a restaurant. It ended up being the same restaurant that we went to on the way back, and I think I could tell the difference in the atmosphere. Like when we first got there, everyone was still kind of secluded. No one really knew each other that well. But then when we were coming back, it was like everyone was so close with each other because we just spent 2 weeks together doing all this service that it was like we created a bond that we like it just can't be broken now. Like I'm still in contact with them as well. So yeah.
So, 2 weeks, if you can, day by day, what was it like? What you remember day by day?
So I don't remember day by day specifically, but I know for the first week we didn't really do much service. Like we did little things here and there where we like created balls of seeds that we could go throw into the forest and then it would grow trees and stuff.
Whoa. Not even planting, just like throwing into
No,
the
we
forest?
just threw it into the forest and they grew
How does
trees.
it happen then?
Because we packed in just like little seeds into dirt,
Yeah.
and then we would like squish them together, and then it would create little balls, and we just go throw them past as we were driving out through the bus, and then they would just land there, and then like naturally they would just become trees.
All right.
But the first week, we did a lot more learning about the people, so that we actually knew how we could help them. So the first week we learned about like how people live there. Like for example, we learned how sesame seed oil was made there. So like usually here you would just do it in a factory, but everything there they did is it was all handmade. There was couple of very little machinery involved. Like for example, they would just put the sesame seeds into like a huge like cylinder, and then they would just mash and mash and mash for constantly
Like
until
manual labor a
yes,
lot.
manual labor.
Yeah.
But another thing, during that same visit we also saw a machine that could do it efficiently for them. and it would like they would put the sesame seeds in, and then it would just start grinding them for you, and then the oil would come out. And then you would just be repeating of that process, like taking the sesame seeds back out and then putting them back in. Just it was stuff like that. We also saw this one, well, a group of guys. They were making paper plates, but they weren't like paper plates like made like we would see here in America. They were made from banana leaves,
Mm-hmm.
so environmentally efficient and well, not conservative, but like
Conservation,
yes,
like that kind of
conservation. Yes,
conservative.
yeah, yeah, like that kind of
Okay.
conservative. Yeah, stuff like that.
So you help make the paper plates as well?
No, we just
Watch
watched.
them do
Yeah,
it?
because the paper plate stuff was so technical that like a small slip up could be like pretty could like ruin the whole plate. So stuff like that.
And you don't speak any Tamil, do you?
No, I don't
So how
speak any
did
Tamil.
you interact with the locals and everything?
Well, another thing that I learned there is that it doesn't matter if you speak their language or not. If you show an effort to help, people will be appreciative of that.
Yeah.
But we also had people from our group that knew Tamil. Like, for example, one of the chaperones knew Tamil, so she helped communicate with us. I mean, she helped us communicate with them. A
Hmm.
lot of the students themselves knew Tamil. And we also had people from the CORD Center that knew Tamil and English, like to help us translate and stuff like that.
So what was it like to relate to people that have lives that are so vastly different from your own in terms of upbringing, in terms of opportunity? What was the difference like?
Um, so the difference there was that I like, are we talking about the people from in
The
India or
people
like,
you're serving in India.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. So like people there, they didn't have as much economic opportunities as I was provided with growing up in America, but they were still happy. Like it wasn't like they were all just completely down in the dumps, like, oh, my life is horrible. But they were all like, hey, it will get better. It's not going to be like this forever.
What were
Kind
the
of like.
challenges they were facing then?
So one of the biggest things was that there was trash everywhere. Like
Hmm.
it was completely filled to the brim with trash. There was little education
Like on the
opportunities.
streets and everything?
Yeah, on the streets, in houses as
Do
well.
they burn that trash? Is that the way they get rid of it,
They
or
just left it there,
like collect it?
honestly.
Okay.
Yeah, just collect it up into the sides.
Hmm.
And also there was little education because a lot of the people that we visited, they were so remote, like they were remote villages up in the mountains. So it was difficult for them to be provided with proper education.
Hmm.
So like they had to find their own ways to teach their students. Like one village, for example, there were a bunch of graduated like 18, 19, 20-year olds that were trying to build a library for their village.
Hmm.
Stuff like that. They were persevering through their struggles.
So how they're building a library for their village
Yes,
then?
they're
What
building
was
a
the
library.
progress? How was that going?
When we got there, they had finished building the library itself. They were just trying to collect books for the library.
So donations from
Yes,
people and
donations
things.
from people, stuff like that.
Wow. So when I was in college, I'd hear people say that, I'm going to travel abroad is going to change my perspective and look at life in a different way. I used to scoff at that. Like, okay, how does traveling somewhere for 2 weeks change your perspective? Now, more than a year after the fact, do you see a real change in perspective?
Yeah, I could say that I do because before I kind of went there like knowing that my life was better than them, and I was kind of just like, "Oh, I'm better than you guys. Why do I have to help you?" I
Mm-hmm.
know that seems kind of like mean, but now that I came back, I realized that that's not how I should have been thinking about it. I should have been thinking about it like, yes, my life is better than yours, but how can I help you that your life can become better than mine?
Mm. So how was it? How did you make someone's life better than yours then?
I obviously it's not something that you can do in 2 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
but when we were building those, like digging those pits, for example, we usually did it for the farmers that were like older or farmers who were like unable to do it themselves, right? So our digging helped them feed their animals and make sure that they could profit from our help. We didn't receive anything from it. We didn't get any money. We got maybe 100. We got 120 hours from 2 weeks, which is pretty much nothing. Honestly, that's what 4 days of work.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't receive much from helping them, but we loved helping. Like we were there and we knew what we wanted to do and we liked doing it. So,
So was it hard to get everyone on the same page? Like any project you have, 20 kids are being involved in it that don't know each other that well. There's a whole like what storming, norming, they go through those stages, right? Was there a period of awkwardness or getting people to buy in? What was that process like?
not really. I mean, so a lot of my friends there, they used to do these things where like they would fake sick for a day or two because they like had a headache or something and just didn't want to work. But usually we really never had a problem like getting to know each other either. We were all pretty good friends by like 2 or 3 days in. Like we were pretty tight
Yeah.
within like really quickly. So I feel like we never really had a problem with like trying to get each other to actually show up and help. But like, I mean, obviously it's understandable if you need like a break for a day or two because of how much we were doing. But um, yeah, we didn't really have much of a problem trying to get people to help or show up.
That's great. And did it ever feel like the work that you were given was going to be way too hard to accomplish? Like this many pits in this many days? There was no intimidation or anything in that way? You didn't
No,
feel like you couldn't get it
no,
done?
because like the areas that we did it in, we a couple like we did, I think like 4, 5, 6 Azola pits, maybe more within a span of 3 days. And then we also had compost pits that we did. That was, I think, 3 feet deep, 1 foot wide.
Wow.
So no, not 3 feet, like 6, 5, 5, 6 feet, something like that. They were
Deep?
deep,
Okay.
yes. Like they were deep pits, and we the locals would put their compost in there. It would generate compost stuff. I mean, generate like whatever it's called. I don't know, remember. But like we never really had that idea because whenever you go into something thinking, "Oh my gosh, this is going to be horrible," you're not going to come out of it having any fun.
Mm.
But if you think about it like once we get this done, we can have fun, then you're going to have so much more enjoyment actually doing the
So
tasks.
what was fun then after doing the work?
So, usually when we finished doing everything that we needed to do for that day and we came home, we would all come together and we would watch like a movie or something.
Where would you live? What was home?
We would go. There was, like I said before, the CORD Siruvani Center. It was like an acre of land. And there was like a building in the middle with like dorms and everything where we would be. And then there was like a main hall where we would go and watch movies together and stuff like that.
Nice. So then, from an organization's perspective, what is Cord USA's purpose of having kids from America go to India and do these service projects?
So one of the main things that Cord was telling us to do before we even got there was creating a presentation about how our life was like in the United States.
Okay.
I think our benefit from it is like understanding that we are more privileged than others and we need to use that privilege to help other people's lives get better. And their benefit from it was just our help helping their lives get better, I guess I could say.
Okay. Now, there's a service hour culture that's built up here. I went through it when I was in high school as well, where the purpose is ostensibly of service is to get a liking for service and having that be with us throughout our lives. However, the moment a service opportunity is announced, the first thought in our minds, whether we admit it or not, is how many hours do I get for this? So, in your opinion, then, going through a program like this, how do we make sure in our organization we build up service for the sake of service and not for service hours or some benefit like that? How do we build that altruism in some way?
So for me, for example, when I was going to the court thing, my first thought was how many hours am I going to get out of this? Because I wasn't told how much. I know because I was also told that a lot of different centers would give different hours of time. Like for example, I got 120, 125, something like that. But my friends in LA, they got like 150, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't told how much service hours I was going to get. Knowing that, I was kind of like, okay, why am I doing this? So my mindset was, okay, I'm here, I'll just get this over with, get the hours, and I'll leave. But once I actually started doing the service, then I was kind of like, oh, this isn't that bad. Like, I could do this for a lot longer than 2 weeks if needed. once that final 2 weeks came, I was kind of like, oh man, it's already gone. Like I was like, I could have so much more fun here, not just getting the hours, but like I could have so much more fun actually doing service, like even if I wasn't getting anything from it. So I think to help people actually understand what service is, you have to like, I mean, giving them an incentive like to service hours is always going to be helpful. But I think once you do like what they did, like they don't tell you how many hours you're going to get, then people who actually like want to do the service, they'll come and actually help out. But that's also going to stray away from like a lot of people because they're not going to know how many hours they're going to get. So if people really aren't willing to help, then I don't see the point of them coming to do the service.
So sometimes serving in a foreign country and then putting it on your resume is like a major flex. It goes a long way. How is this not just like all those other service opportunities? What is it that makes this special? Where if you're weighing different international service projects, you say, okay, this is the one I'm going to go for. What's the X factor, if you will, with this?
I think for me personally, or for anyone who's part of Chinmay, the X factor is that it is connected to something that you know well. Like a lot of people, they'll just sign up for some service opportunity abroad that they don't know anything about. But for me personally, like I had a connection to Chinmaya and I had connection like I knew what chord was, but I didn't really do anything with it before. But from my connection to Chinmaya, I had like the opportunity to do this service thing. So I feel like for this specifically, the connection that I had between Chord and Chinmaya really helped help me understand like what this project could do for me, not just everyone else.
And how, if I'm, say, on the fence about going to India to do a service project, where I feel like, okay, I get sick when I go there, or I don't know how I'm going to relate to everything there, it's out of my comfort zone a lot. What would you say to me as a high school kid if I'm on the fence, where I want to do something like this? I believe in the cause, but going all the way to India to do it is not really my cup of tea.
I mean, if your problem is going to India, then there's always a way to figure that out, right? Because you don't have to go to India per se. You can go anywhere else. Like you can still find volunteering opportunities in Africa. Like it doesn't have to be
But
specifically
if
in
I want to
India.
go with Cord
If you
USA,
want to go with Cord,
yeah,
then honestly just gonna have to get over it. There's not
get
really
over
much you can do.
it. Are there
Like
other opportunities? Say I can't take 2 weeks in December or 2 weeks in the summer. Are there other opportunities within Cord USA that I can take up?
within Cord, I know something that my dad personally is trying to do. He's trying to like create a bridge between the chords in India and the chords in the US
Mm-hmm.
because that could help because another thing that chord does in India, a lot of the local people will create these like little small products like pain bombs, stuff like that, and they'll chord will distribute those for a profit and then they'll give that profit directly back to the people. So it's not like they're not taking anything from it, they're going to give it straight back. Those things like creating that bridge can help introduce that product into the US. So that could be incredibly helpful for those people, not just the chord centers.
Okay. So Smaran, we grew up going to India on trips in the summertime, wintertime to see family, and we go to certain locations. What was this trip to India like? How was it different from the other ones you've taken? Where do you feel like you got a taste of real India more than the other times?
For me personally, whenever I go to India, I go to Hyderabad, right? Like the busy areas. Like I don't go out to the areas where you don't see much,
Mm-hmm.
where there's like rural areas. I don't go there very often. But here, for example, it was all rural. Like even when we went to other places, there was it would be through the city, but once we got to that place, it was almost always rural areas.
Did it change your perception of what you thought India was?
A lot because originally whenever I used to go to India, it was just always dirty, always smoky, always stuff like that. But at the Siruvani Center, man, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
There's palm trees everywhere, green grass.
No
It was
pollution.
amazing. No pollution. It was amazing.
So, going to a place like this and seeing it, do you notice a difference in the locals here rather than locals in other places in India that you've seen?
Like locals in Hyderabad
And the
versus
big cities
okay.
versus the people in these areas?
Um, yeah, honestly, because To me, locals in Hyderabad, they're kind of mean,
Yeah.
aren't they? They're a little rude to you
Mm-hmm.
whenever they know you're a foreigner, like you don't know much about the area. They're rude to you.
Yeah.
But the locals in rural areas are so much nicer. Like they're always willing to help you out no matter what.
Yeah.
I feel like that's one of the biggest
That
things that I
connection was made.
noticed. Yeah.
Then finally, when it comes to our mission center here in Dallas, one of my goals as someone influencing the Bala Vihar program is I want all of our Bala Vihar kids to have this healthy association with Seva where they believe in service. In our week to week classes, how do we really build that love for Seva and for that selfless service without just that service hour culture on a weekly basis? How do we really integrate that into our system?
Well, one of the things we could do is we could maybe introduce like small projects. Like I know a lot of areas or like a lot of big places. Like I know the hospitals
Mm-hmm.
around the area. They'll take like these little cards, like get well soon cards, stuff like
Yeah.
that, for like a couple hours. Like we can introduce small projects like that, and just do like big donations to different areas, and I feel like that could be incredibly helpful.
And then with this whole experience that you had, we talk a lot about Hindu identity in our Bala Vihar. Now, yes, India is the root of Hinduism. That's where you didn't serve. But did this build your Hindu identity at all? Did it change your perception of what it means to be Hindu?
I mean, I already had a pretty strong perception of what I thought to be Hindu. Going to this place really didn't have much effect on me personally, because like I was already pretty strongly, I am proud to be a Hindu. I don't have anything against Hinduism. But I could tell from a lot of people there, like it changed them. Like for one of the people that I knew, he was a pretty rough person before. I mean, he still is a rough person now, but like he's changed so much from that service project. Like he's loosened up quite a bit.
What did that in 2 weeks?
For that 2 weeks, we used to do this thing every morning where we would go to come together, pray, meditate, stuff like that. I feel like that does like what 5-10 minutes every morning really helped me like loosen up for the entire day. Not just me, but like other people as well. Like help me like relax a little bit. Like with everything going on in my life, I could just like calm down for like sit there for 5-10 minutes and just focus on whatever I was doing.
So that shift in mindset that you got in those 2 weeks, how has that translated to your day to day life a year after?
For me personally, ever since I came back, I've been a lot more focused on making myself happy rather than other people. Like what I used to do is if my parents asked me to do something, I would do it almost immediately because I knew it would help them be happy. But now, instead of doing that, I'll do it because I know it'll help keep them happy, which in return will help them stay not mad at me.
Mm-hmm.
So like I know that since they're happy, I'll be happy too because they're not going to be mad at me.
And how did that 2 weeks affect that mindset?
Because like once I got there, as I said before, I was kind of like, "Oh, I don't really want to do this," which is what I always had that mindset whenever my parents would ask me to do something. But now, after I came back, I was kind of like, "Okay, if I get it done quickly, then or quickly, efficiently with like obviously doing it well, but like if I can do it like that, then I can do whatever makes me happy again." That's what I kind of learned from that. Like if I do it well and quick enough, then I can go back to doing whatever I was doing before.
I want to talk about what would you want to say about Bala Vihar?
I mean, that depends on the question. Like
Like, what is it you want to get out off your chest about Bala Vihar that you want
there's
people to know?
nothing really to get off my chest. Like it's fun. Like I
Yeah.
like going to the classes. I mean, like before when I was younger, it was kind of like I don't really want to go to the class. But
Yeah.
like now, even waking up at the time I wake, like I don't want to wake up at 9 a.m. to go to anything. But like for Bali VR, for example, I don't really have a problem with it anymore. Like it's kind of like I know that my parents aren't going to be happy if I skip, but I also don't care because I want to go.
What is it that makes you want to go?
I have a lot of friends there, first off. Like I
Okay.
have a lot of friends there. They're good friends too. Teachers, they're really nice. I love Arjun Bhai and Malik Uncle.
Mm-hmm.
They're incredibly nice, and they also like have engaging lesson plans. Like it's not just, oh, I'm gonna sit here and talk to you the entire what, an hour
So,
of
what makes it
class.
engaging then in that hour? What are they doing?
Because what they do, they'll like, sure, they'll make us read from the book and stuff, but then instead of just reading from the book, we'll talk about it with each other, and then we'll like and share those ideas with the class, and then like what we kind of got from it, and then every now and then we'll have like games and stuff
But in
too.
every class, you have this bell curve where it's in the middle is the people that contribute when they're interested in a certain topic. On one end, you have the superstars that, like, on everything they have a comment, or they're the ones that want to sing the bhajans and talk about what we do in class and, the go getters.
Hmm.
On the other end of the spectrum, you have like the 5 or 6 kids that I could pull a rabbit out of my hat and they still would be like, I'm not impressed. Like, they're not into it at all. How do you account for that kind of a curve? Is it just the people in the middle that we're looking at saying they're participating, we're good, or how do you engage the other kids as well?
Um, for my class personally, there's only like one or two kids that don't really pay attention. But even then, if you call on them, they'll know the answer. Like
Okay.
they'll know because they're like listening still. So for my class personally, I know you've already told me this many times, but our class is one of the most engagement.
It is.
So
You have the highest attended 11th grade class that I've ever seen, given SAT, ACT, all the stuff you have to deal with. And so I think your F1 11th grade class is the highest attended high school class across all our sessions in terms of percentage, which is a testament to your teachers and I guess the cohesion you have. So is it that a lot of your classmates go to school together? Where does that togetherness come from?
I feel like it's that a lot of our classmates have been going to Bala Vihar in the same class for such a long time.
Hmm.
Because like for me, for example, I joined F1 last year, but I've always been in Chinmaya. So like I already but I also already knew the people that were in my class.
From what?
From school. Like I've known
Okay.
Budma and Arna for a long time. Like
Yeah.
I've known them since sixth, seventh grade. Like I've
Hmm.
known them for a while. But like for example, Sumit, he's one of my best friends, and I met him what last year.
Yeah.
So like he, I feel like that kind of bond that we create in Chinmay is something just like it's not gonna go away.
So what effect has the camps and the high school hangouts had on that togetherness?
I feel like the camps and the high school hangouts haven't really done much to affect the togetherness, but they've created like okay, well the camps, I think yeah, the camps have done something, but the high school hangouts specifically, they just made the togetherness thing bigger. Like I've met more people from those camps and the high school hangouts.
Because the big thing is, I want to do more events where the high schoolers get together. Because you said the socialization factor matters so much.
It does.
It's
It
not just about the
matters.
teaching, who you're with, that makes a big difference. So sometimes people are like, oh, the kids show up just to hang out with each other and talk, as if that's a bad thing. I mean, if they're in a congregational space doing that, that's fine. Social life is a part of that, especially at y'all's age. So, what is something we can do to make Balvihar better then? You have one more year left in our system. What do you want to see?
I think I I personally don't have really anything wrong, but I feel like I know it takes a lot of effort to do all the high school hangouts and stuff, and you don't have that much time. But if you could make something that's like a little more reoccurring, whether it be if you do it online, I'm gonna be on. People aren't gonna show up if you do it
Yeah.
online.
We did try it online.
Yeah,
It's hard to
I
get people to
know.
show up.
But if you do something where you could like bring the high schoolers together, like something like a high school hangout, but like that
Hmm.
something that won't take as much time, like something that's still fun, but something that'll like maybe what an hour or two of our time,
Yeah.
then I feel like a lot more people would show up to those than rather doing it online. Like it doesn't have to be like a game or anything like that or
Hmm.
anything fun. Well,
Fun,
it
but
has to
just
yes,
on y'all's terms of what
yes,
fun is.
fun, but
Okay.
on our terms. But I think that if you could do something like that, like I don't have any ideas, but if you could do something that would like what an hour or two of our time that would engage us, then I feel like a lot more people would show up to those and that would really increase engagement.
I think that would definitely be fun. So thank you so much for talking to me about Cord, about your experiences there, about Balvihar and everything. Good luck to you as you finish out high school then, man.
Thank you.
Hariom.
Hariom.